Hey, I'm PH, and welcome to another episode of Good Bible Knowledge with PhD. In this set of videos, I want to provide a helpful and enjoyable way to understand common questions about the Bible. I hope you'll find these videos helpful for your own spiritual journey in Jesus. Let's get started. Who is Samson? Samson was the last judge recorded in the book of Judges. Samson as a leader was an enigma, because in one sense he was very successful in defeating the enemies of Israel, and yet at the same time he was a complete and utter failure as a leader. During this time, Israel was being oppressed by a people called the Philistines. When Samson was born, his parents dedicated him to the Lord. He was a miracle baby who was endowed with extraordinary strength and blessing from the Lord. However, Samson did not appreciate all that he was given and proved to be more selfish and foolish than all the judges that came before him. One day, when Samson went through the Philistine town of Timnah, he saw a woman and immediately decided he was going to marry her. While he was partying with the Philistines, Samson wagered 30 linen garments that they could not answer a riddle. The Philistines, however, conspired with Samson's wife and discovered the answer. Samson, filled with anger, went out and struck down 30 Philistines and took their clothing to pay for the wager, and then he returned to his parents' house. After some time, Samson returned to Timnah and found that his wife had been given away to the best man at his wedding. In a fit of rage, Samson set fire to all the grain reserves of the Philistines. The Philistines sent a force of 1,000 men to capture Samson, but Samson struck them down with the jawbone of a donkey. After this great victory, instead of praising God, Samson complained to God that he was thirsty. After several years, Samson again went to the cities of the Philistines, and there he fell in love with a woman named Delilah. The Philistines went to Delilah in secret and offered 1,100 pieces of silver if she would find the secret to Samson's strength. Delilah went to Samson and asked him, "What is the secret of your great strength?" And Samson replied, "If I am bound with 7 bowstrings, I will become weak like any other man." That evening, Delilah bound Samson in his sleep, but Samson snapped the strings like a thread. Delilah then said, "Don't lie to me. What is the secret of your strength?" Samson replied, "If I'm tied with new ropes, I will not be able to escape." And that evening, Delilah tied Samson with ropes, but again Samson snapped the ropes effortlessly. Delilah pressed Samson day after day, and exasperated by her words, Samson finally said, "When I was born, my parents devoted me to the Lord with a Nazirite vow. Thus no razor has ever touched my head." That evening, Delilah had Samson's head shaved, and when he awoke, he did not realize that the strength of the Lord had departed from him, and he was unable to free himself. The Philistines seized him, blinded him, and put him in prison. Sometime later, the Philistines wanted to bring out Samson to publicly ridicule him. At that time, Samson called out to the Lord, "O Lord, please remember me and strengthen me once more that I may take revenge on the Philistines." And for one final time, the Lord infused Samson with great strength, and he toppled the house, killing himself along with all his enemies. This perplexing story of the Bible raises a lot of baffling questions. Why would God allow someone like Samson to rule his people? Why was Samson so foolish? Did Samson's strength really lie in his hair? The choosing of Samson highlights the importance of humility. God often gives us blessings and advantages that we don't deserve, and it is our choice whether to honor him or to go our own way. Samson foolishly chose to use all of God's blessings to please himself and his own selfish desires. The cutting of Samson's hair was an outward sign that Samson had turned his back on God in his heart by belittling the vow made by his parents at his birth. It was this rejection that ultimately removed God's blessing from his life and caused his strength to depart. Samson's life leaves us with a warning of the consequences of selfishness and folly. Samson's deep character flaws only serve to highlight the qualities of Jesus, who would be the perfect deliverer. Jesus lived a life of selflessness, love, and obedience to the will of God. And Jesus would ultimately sacrifice his life on the cross and rise from the dead to save those who would put their faith in him. Thanks for listening to another episode of Good Bible Knowledge. We'll see you next time.